I would say this. So our industries, I mean, we're, at the time of this recording, you and I having a conversation, the entire nation is still in, not just in the state of COVID, but it's in like starting to lock down again. Things are trending
Yeah.
the exact wrong direction. Um, Crystal ball type thing. When you look at collaboration specifically in the worlds of hospitality or journalism or sports, in any one of those worlds, where do you see this going over the next whatever long period of time you want to put out?
Yeah, I mean, it's a great question that you just asked, because I think that during this particular time, a lot of us retreat into ourselves. You're thinking about protecting yourself in a way, certainly protecting your health. You know, what can I do with respect to like washing my hands, social distance, wearing a mask, like, you know, if I am out having to do something like being tested a lot, you know, I work at a company that's had cuts, just as many companies had. So we lost plenty of people, and you know, and that's certainly scary for everybody involved, right? So I think there's a tendency to try to retreat into yourself, and how do I protect what I have in it? And I I think that a lot of the very best work that the industries that you work in, that I work in, have all still come through working together. And I think that for as scary as it is, as each person looks at like what's going to happen to me, that we can't lose sight of that in a way. And I've seen some efforts, particularly in hospitality, that have been really inspiring of certain, if it's like a restaurant is closed down, or the owner of the space, you know, shut it down, but the chef and his team are then given an opportunity at another space where they're like, you know what, come in here, do your thing. We'll do like a pop-up thing a few nights a week, and we'll collaborate and we'll post stuff on social media. We'll get people in, you know, you can keep your people employed or whatever. So I've seen things like that, and I think that's really important. You know, with respect to sports and sports media and media in general, um, you know, I'm heartened by how people have subscribed to a lot of journalism at the top end. You know, the subscriptions to places like the New York Times, New Yorker, Atlantic, Washington Post have been really affirming to me, in that people really do believe that for legitimate information with top end reporters, top end editors, top end fact checkers, the best people in the world, that it's something that you're willing to pay for. You know, we have our own subscription service. You know, they recently put my work behind the paywall, a lot of my work, and
Whoa.
yeah, yeah. Now it's all the work that I'll be doing going forward, like features and whatnot. A lot of my news stories and public service work will still go, but we've seen, you know, great response to that as well. So in some ways, like, you know, that's us saying to the people, we believe that we need you in order to keep doing this going forward, to keep the lights on and whatnot. And there's been a great response to that. It's gonna, but that's a thing that I guess it's reinventing in a way. Like, the business model wasn't that for us, for media. We relied on like advertising and other things for a long time, but as that has faded away, and a lot of technological disruption, these past 8 months have really forced people to maybe fast track what maybe needed to happen for a while, right? A kind of a reinvention of the business model. I know certainly in the hospitality industry, where a lot of people have been operating on razor thin margins forever. I've read different op-eds and other pieces where people have talked about that too. Like, this is a chance for us to really rethink the business model. Um,
We have to.
so yes, we
It is.
have to.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's an absolute necessity. Like, you know, the stories I've read about these restaurants, and it's like, yeah, if we miss 1 week of service, we're under. And you're like, that doesn't work for anybody. But I also think of like certain, you know, media. I'm like, well, if the advertising fell out from under us, this doesn't work. You know, we have to figure out another stream of revenue. And it's like, you know, we gave away our product. A lot of media has given away their product online for free for a long time after charging people for it. So they're trying to figure out new ways to work. And thankfully, some places have been forging a path that I think others will follow. But you know, I do think that there are fundamental things. Like, I'm working on certain big stories right now, and I check in with my editor pretty much every day, and I will say, here's the information I've gotten today. Here's, you know, if there's certain stories I think that could come from this, um, here's kind of what they are, but let's talk about it. Let's hop on a phone call and let's have a conversation, a discussion. So some of the fundamental things about collaboration are real. In terms of where this goes, I, you know, I don't know. I hope that the vaccines come soon enough, and whatever funding from the government, particularly for like people in hospitality, um, that there's not nearly as much pain that is suffered by various restaurants or people in the industry, that it spares some of that. I certainly hope for that. I hope for us, because we have a lot of money tied up certainly in the NBA, the NFL, college football. I hope these seasons are able to happen, and able to happen. I know there'll be stops and starts because we're in a pandemic. That they're able to happen so that a lot of people can stay employed. But certainly the uncertainty of this, I think, will force a lot of these industries, as you said, it's a necessity that there may be things that needed to happen long ago, that there wasn't a sense of urgency in terms of reinvention. And nobody wanted this to happen, right? And this has been terrible by every metric that you could have, but it does provide an opportunity, and that maybe that sense of urgency, like, look, if we're not gonna sit back and really take a hard look at what we're doing and try to figure out better ways to do it, then we're never going to find a time for it. And I know those are conversations that are happening at the place where I work. And I've been heartened by some of the things that we found. We're also throwing a lot of spaghetti at the wall, and trying to figure out what sticks and whatnot. Yeah. So I think a lot of people are doing that. And so those things, yeah, those things have all been important. And I don't know exactly where this all will head. I hate to use the basketball phrase or the sports phrase of like, we're all kind of day to day on this, but I certainly am learning day to day what this looks like. And I guess you could check back in with me in a couple months and I'll tell you what I feel like my industry is learning. Certainly in a couple months, come late January, but it'll be interesting. But I will say that I'm learning so much from, as I mentioned before, learning so much from hospitality and dining. The ingenuity and creativity that I've seen different restaurants have during this incredibly difficult time has been really inspiring, because it has pushed them up against the wall, forced them to the brink, many of these places to the brink of closure. And they have fought back and tried to figure out new ways to do this or that. And I mean, I find that to be deeply, deeply inspiring. It's such a perilous moment.
Absolutely. Well, I look back and go back 12 months ago to middle of November 2019 to today. And I think that the world as we saw it back then may never come back. And I think that the collaborative aspect of being able to bond together, industry to industry or within the same community, I think all bets are off as to what it used to be. And if we don't bond together in, like you just said, very creative and innovative ways, I don't know how easy this process is going to be.
Yeah. So. And something to your point just there, and I know I hinted on this previously, one of the things that's been one of the best things that's happened to me is in talking with people in the restaurant community, I've learned a lot about the art of collaboration and the art of people working together to try to produce a really superior, product, experience, whatever you want to call it. And I've learned over time, I should say, like in the last couple of years, that thing translates through a lot of different industries. And I do think that like greatness and a team working together, certainly it happens in sports. There's a lot of different industries where there's that kind of thing. Again, it translates. So like greatness is a very universal language in a way. And I do think that certain industries that maybe have had the blinders on of like, this is how we've done it. This is how we've always done it. And this thing came, whatever. I do think it's important to listen and learn from other industries and seeing how they do things, because maybe maybe it's not the exact same thing you're doing, But maybe there are things that they are trying to do. And if they're trying to create a superior product or experience or whatever, isn't that, if that's not what you're trying to do, I mean, you probably should be if you want to stay in business. But I think there's things that can be learned. So I have thought about that a lot. Especially in the last few years, as I've learned more about food and wine and become really fascinated by that world, I've learned that these things in every industry, whether it's, and it doesn't necessarily have to be creative, but certainly you can look at music, you can look at art, you can look at hospitality, you can look at sports, you can look at media, you can look at all kinds of things. There's so many of these things that are the same. It's the same conversations that are happening. It's the same type of collaboration that are happening, and we can learn a lot of ways from each other. And I think, to bring it back, that is as much of what people, I think, should be doing in terms of collaborating, is really trying to think and listen outside the box of, like, maybe what it is that your industry has done forever. And maybe there's something that some other industry has done that is absolutely applicable to what you maybe need to be doing or should be doing, or at least it's just a thought. It's a piece of spaghetti you can throw up against the wall. And if there was ever a time to be doing such a thing, that is probably right now at this very moment.
I'm going to go put on some water, boil some spaghetti, start tossing it at the wall. Baxter, man, thank you. Thank you so much. I thank you. The Welcome Conference thanks you. The viewership thanks you. I love you, man. And I just want a time where we can sit down and have a bottle of champagne, followed by.
Yeah. I'm. First of all, I can't thank you enough for having me. I'm huge fans of you guys and what you do. Huge fan of you. Love you, man. And I'm staring at my wine fridge as we're recording this, and I have some bottles set aside for the next time I see you. So I look very much forward to that when that is. But for you guys, like, keep doing what you're doing. The point that I just made about this being really instructive to a lot of people in a lot of walks of life, like, it's hard to put into words, like being able to watch something and watch someone from a completely different industry than your own. They say something, and that provides the flashbulb moment for whatever it is you're working on, whatever field you're in, whatever project you're trying to tackle. It's really priceless. So a fresh perspective is, I think, really important. So what you guys are doing is awesome. I'm honored to be a part of it. It's always a pleasure to chat with you. And I look forward to hanging again soon as we can.
Let's do it soon. You be safe, okay?
Likewise, my man.
Take care, brother. Bye-bye.